Since taking over management of the crisis, the executive committee has received new information to now confirm a level of inappropriate behavior on the part of Mike Bickle that requires IHOPKC to immediately, formally, and permanently separate from him.
Dwayne Roberts, Brian Kim, Wes Martin, and Dwayne Roberts, as well as Randy, and many other people, Dean Briggs as well, have all recognized that there is something major going on at IHOP. So why did the current ELT, let Mike Bickle use the platform as a weapon against God's children? This has to be addressed. Not only that, if you're unaware, they have total and absolute refusal to investigate what's going on with IHOPKC. Mr. Bowles, Mr. T, said that he is now in communication with other people that have concerns about impropriety with staff. They need to do a full investigation of IHOP, right down to the whole organization, because there's something going on at IHOP. Has to be exposed for the safety of the church. ¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Welcome to my channel. Please support your local food bank, drug and alcohol center. We're going to do an IHOPKC update. We're going to do, if you don't know what's going on at IHOPKC and the sexual misconduct of Mike Bickle, all that's come out, I want to do a bit of a recap as well as some current information that just came out, and we're going to do it under the bridge. Okay, new update. I don't have my my selfie stick. I left it at home. So if you're new to my channel, I'm a Christian outreach worker, and we're going to do an update. You know, the Bible warns us about false prophets. We're going to talk about false prophets in this video. We're going to talk about when prophecy becomes a weapon. And that's exactly what has happened right now. We're going to, that's what I'll do is I'll play a few videos first. First video we're going to talk about is Mike Bickle's last sermon.
I won't touch you. I will let the Lord judge, or other translations, let the Lord decide. So what David did is he invoked the Lord's activity. Let the Lord avenge me on you. I'm not touching you with my mouth or with my hand. Because we moved to Kansas City 40 years ago, and that's when this happened. 2 times in 1983, 82, and 83, the Lord spoke supernaturally. Don't answer anybody who comes, any adversaries, accusations. I will defend you. Don't touch it. Don't get them back. Don't whisper again. Don't tell the truth about them. Nothing like that. Never, ever. And so I've watched it happen over the years. But now I know 40 years later, oh, this is going to be a critical part of the end time church. Here you'll see it. You can see on the notes, Revelation 9:21. Murder, 4 major weapons: murder, sorcery, immorality, and theft. Those are his 4 primary weapons, but accusation actually trumps all of those as the primary tool of Satan. He will do those other 4, but accusation is at the front of the line. About my enemies. The word of my testimony is, the Lord says, what do you think I see in what I say about that person accusing you? I think you think they're wrong. Well, no, that's not really what I'm saying. I'm standing before God, and the Lord tells me, he sternly tells me. I mean, I'm standing there awake. I'm touching my arm. I go, I got an elbow. I go, I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what's happening. I mean, it was really intense. And he goes, young man, to get in a chariot. And this chariot spoke of end time ministry. And he pointed at a chariot, and an angel was there. He said, get in the chariot. The very next month, September 84, it's in another encounter completely opposite of this. And it's related to the chariot mandate. And it's the black horse. And I'm not going to tell the story. I've got a few links if you want to hear it, some of the black horse story. But they're 1 month apart. The 2 probably most dramatic encounters I've ever had in my life were 1 month apart. And the black horse, which is the dragon of Revelation 12, In Revelation 12, it's a dragon. And this one is a literal 8-foot chest, 15 feet wings. I mean, this Pegasus or whatever you call it, this mighty beast dragon comes flying down to me, and he strikes me with rage. He actually hits me on my knee, like breaks my kneecap nearly. I can't walk for 30 days. It's a spiritual experience, but it literally happened. I mean, I'm like this. Someone goes, what happened? I go, I get kicked by a horse. They go, we thought you didn't like horses. I go, I don't like this one for sure. And I didn't talk about it for a long time, but it was the bizarrest thing. But here's what happened. Michael the archangel comes, and he speaks a sentence. If Michael he spoke actually 2 sentences, but if Michael the archangel shows up in an earthly context and says a sentence, that's powerful. And he comes and he says, when you go to the east, the idea is the rage of Satan of this black horse will kick you when you go to the east. What does that mean? And I'm not going to go into that right now.
All right, so I won't show their faces, but there's my friends. Do you want to say hi? Sure. Say hello. All right, have a good day. God bless. Take care. All right, I just had a humongous conversation with them. Now, all right, so when prophecy becomes a weapon, so let's just think about this for a second. Just so I run down, the last sermon that Mr. Bickle preached was on the accusations of Satan, and that he had gone to the throne room of heaven in a chariot, and that he had a conversation with the archangel Michael. Now, I've been studying this a little bit. The idea is that he has been commissioned as the end time generation to usher in the return of Christ and change the face of Christianity. That's the prophetic history of IHOPKC. I've been studying it. We test the prophecies. First of all, we know quite clearly that he was totally aware. We know now that these allegations of the clergy sexual abuse were coming to the forefront because all the leaders had confronted him about it. Right? Now, this was a weapon formed against everyone in IHOPKC and also around the world, because IHOPKC not only is in English, but in Spanish and Portuguese and other languages. So in that message, I'm going to play a clip for you. In this message,
Up at page 6, the whole story. I just wanted you to put that together. So, paragraph C. I realize I've gone quite a long time here. I've gone over an hour, but I'm going to bring this to an end pretty quick. But this is so important. I just want this documented for our spiritual family. Page 6, the whole story. I just wanted you to put that together. So, paragraph C. I realize I've gone quite a long time here. I've gone over an hour, but I'm going to bring this to an end pretty quick. But this is so important. I just want this documented for our spiritual family.
He said something along the lines that he wanted to get this on record. So this whole hour, 40-minute sermon was a weapon against the advocates that had their concerns regarding Mike Bickle. And the point of this video that I'm talking about is it's progressed now. We're in our second month, going into our third month. There are other weapons that have been formed against the church. The advocates, the women, right, their families are receiving online threats. Another weapon is Carisma magazine.
I wanted to explain the fact that it's live today because a couple of days ago, Mike Bickle issued a personal statement, which I'm going to read and which we're going to discuss. This morning, my friend Larry Tomczak wrote an article on charismanews.com, which if you aren't subscribing or checking it out, you need to for all the latest news that's important to the body of Christ and also in the culture. He called it 5 Ways We Should Respond to Mike Bickle's Statement. I actually invited Larry to be on the program live. He has a scheduling conflict, so I'm just going to share part of what he wrote. I also reached out to some leaders at the International House of Prayer, Kansas City, especially their spokesman. He was not able to be on live, so he is going to be on with me next week. I think it's very careful that we understand what's going on. These things are very complicated. I believe that this kind of thing is also a spiritual attack. You know, the enemy attacks us in normal ways. And what's happened is that Mike has confessed to doing something over 20 years ago. It's more specific in the statement, which I'll read in just a minute. But we have to ask, why is it such a big deal now, 20 years later?
Right. So, Carisma Magazine, every step of the way, has been in communication and the leadership of IHOP. We now know that Eric Woles has been there from day one. And they have put out a narrative that the advocates, all right, well, they're saying the women, Jane Doe, the advocates, hearsay, scuttlebutt, and a church split. That's a weapon. In fact, one of my viewers deleted the petition. We were hoping for a third-party investigation. It was sent to me the first day. How you doing? And they deleted everything because of Carisma Magazine. They believe, Stephen Strang, that this is a spiritual weapon against Mike Bickle as King David, a spiritual attack of Satan to take down IHOP. Even to this day, they just put out another article with the fact that IHOPKC now recognize. I'll play that clip. So, all right, yeah. Hey, guys. So it's right over here. 1 second, eh? So that's, I was talking to law enforcement this morning, and they're picking up that syringe. I actually never pick up a syringe unless you have PPE, so personal protective equipment. And 100% of the time, I have gloves in here. This is my naloxone. But I had forgotten my Sharpies container. I have a bunch of Sharpies containers, so they're going to pick that up. Thank you. All right. Now, to this day, Carisma Magazine has been pushing this idea, this weapon against God's children, that the advocates' concerns, the women that have come forward. Actually, I'm going to play that too, because Dean Briggs has, on the word and testimony of Dean Briggs, we'll play this.
I am deeply troubled, and when I first found out about these allegations, I heard firsthand from 3 of the stories, 3 of the Jane Does. I refused to move forward on secondhand information, but the way these stories emerged spontaneously in uncoordinated fashion with significant parallels and overlaps in unusual language that has by now been communicated in many other forms. So I'm not going to try to recover that ground, but unusual conversation points and prophetic storylines and emotional entanglements using that language and prophetic storyline that is just too egregious and obvious and on the nose that when you hear it once, when you hear it in 2 situations, and then 3, and then perhaps each.
So just so everybody knows, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to leave a link to the, it's 37 minutes long in the description. When it flashes like that, this is a pre-recorded video that he's edited and put onto social media. So let's just back that up, because this is critically important. We're seeking after truth, because what Mike Bickle is saying, that it's one occasion 20 plus years ago, the advocates, this is a lot of people have put their careers on the line on this one. And what he just said on the word and testimony of Dean Briggs, he's aware of 3 Jane Does. This is the first time I'm finding out about this. My hope is to catch you up to date with what's happening. Dean Briggs has come on to social media just a few days ago, or was it last week, said that he has been in contact with 3 Jane Does. All right. So there's major concerns with IHOPKC. Another concern that we have is that these Jane Does, all right, have to be held with tender, loving care, and they are part of the weapon that Mike Bickle has used at the IHOPKC service. His prophecy is a false prophecy. It was designed and targeted at God's children. The whole idea of Carisma magazine, Mike Bickle, Rick Joyner, for an example, the Nothing Burger and the accusations of Satan, the evil spirit of accusation that he put out on his videos. And a man named Larry, I'm going to play this. This is Larry to keep you up to date. This is all a weapon used against God's children, against the advocates. They're getting online threats. All right. They've had to go through this public bashing that they are somehow tools of Satan and Absalom. So I'll play that clip.
House of Prayer, Kansas City, where Mike Bickle was being called on the carpet. And you say, well, wait, I think I heard about it. What was that about? Well, there were accusations that were being brought that there was some untoward behavior on Mike's part and that there would need to be an investigation. Now, I don't know if you remember the TV show Twilight Zone. Well, on there was an episode once where these alien beings came and they took on the bodies of human beings, citizens. And what they did is they brought about a campaign of personal and collective destruction by sowing evil reports, scandalous reports and slander. And they whispered things. People began to believe them. And all of a sudden, the whole town was in an uproar and there was division. And the aliens were on a hillside gleefully laughing at what they had caused. Do you know that in the classic book, Dante's Inferno, there's levels of hell that he talked about? You might say, what was at the very bottom, the worst? You know what it was? It was reserved for those who engage in treachery and betrayal. Paul faced it. Jesus faced it. I have faced it. Maybe you have. You find out who your friends are when you go through something like this. So what Mike is facing right now is really the importance of accountability. Let's take a look at this, discern what's right, what's wrong, and then we want to glorify God in the process. Now, are you familiar with the term evil report? Let me give you a definition and let me ask you this. What causes separation of close friendships and a root of bitterness to spring up that will defile a whole church and a ministry? What causes division in organizations, in families, churches, ministries? You know what it is? The answer is simply an evil report. Now you say, Larry, what is an evil report? Well, I'm going to read a definition from Mr. Bill Gothard. And if you read in the Old Testament, you may recall there was a son, Absalom. And he went on the edge of town and he would listen to people's evil reports. And it was something that he would use against his father David. It's devastating. It's destructive. It's very dangerous.
So the point of that is that all of these videos attacking the women, the advocates, and the people advocating for the truth at IHOP and protection for the environment and healing to come forward, these videos have to be, they have to be addressed by Carisma magazine, because this is all, if you want to look at the real attacks of Satan, they're not coming out of the advocates and the women that have been hurt. The real attacks and accusations of Satan are coming from the most powerful men in the charismatic community. Stephen Strang, Larry, Mike Bickle, and we also see Larry as well. This whole attack against the character, the reputations, the families of the people that are concerned with what's happening at IHOP have to be addressed. So if you're inside of IHOP or part of their network, and you at one time believed that Mike Bickle was taken in a chariot to heaven and commissioned as the end time prophet movement, and has conversations with the Archangel Michael and the spirit of accusation of the accusers and that their movement is to usher back the end time generation and change the face of Christianity. All right, God loves you. You're going to get through this. This is a false prophecy. I'll end with this, a Bible verse found in Matthew 7, Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, 6, and 7. Matthew 7:14. I'm just going to quote it. So Jesus says, "Beware of false prophets." All right? That's what he says. Watch out for false prophets. Well, let's read it. Because inwardly they're ravenous wolves. This is my friend. I miss Ben very much. He died this year. Matthew. The point of this video is to give you a bit of an update if you don't know what's going on with IHOP. And, you know, there's a refining fire right now. It's an exciting time if you're a Christian, because we serve a true and living God. And God has his hand on his bride, God's children. Right? He's in control. Right? Put your hope in the Lord. It's an exciting time as Christians. We're seeing the Bible fulfillment in supernatural ways. The book of Peter says it's time for judgment to begin with the household of God. For if the righteous are scarcely saved, what will become of the ungodly and the sinner? Right? There is a judgment on the house of the Lord. These false prophets all over the world are getting exposed. As clearly as you can see an earthquake, a famine, a natural disaster, you can see quite clearly who the internet false prophets are. Right? They're teaching false prophecy, false teachings. They're claiming things and saying things on behalf of my Lord and Savior that are not true. They are false prophets. All right? Well, let's go to 13. Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction. And those who enter by it are many, for the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are very few. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will recognize them by their fruits. That's the point of this video. We can recognize now that Mike Bickle was confronted by the advocates with their concerns about the women. Now, he turned his pulpit into a weapon against God's children by preaching that hour and 40-minute sermon. He also, there's a premeditated in there, all right? There's a premeditated weapon that he formulated in his private office at IHOP. He wrote down his sermon notes, then he went in front of God's children, he span it across social media, and there's a reason why I believe Mr. Greaves has resigned. Many different reasons I believe he would resign. One of those is letting Mike Bickle, the whole entire current ELT, and if you don't know what the ELT is, it's called the Executive Leadership Team, are all complicit in this, that would ever let Mike Bickle preach for weeks on betrayal and the accusations of Satan, when they knew that the advocates, and who are the advocates? They have been inside of IHOP for over 20 years. And not only that, they are current pastors in humongous congregations, right? Dwayne Roberts, Brian Kim, Wes Martin, and Dwayne Roberts, as well as Randy, and many other people, Dean Briggs as well, have all recognized that there is something major going on at IHOP. So why did the current ELT, let Mike Bickle use the platform as a weapon against God's children? This has to be addressed. Not only that, if you're unaware, they have total and absolute refusal to investigate what's going on with IHOPKC. Mr. Bowles, Mr. T, said that he is now in communication with other people that have concerns about impropriety with staff. They need to do a full investigation of IHOP, right down to the whole organization, because there's something going on at IHOP. Has to be exposed for the safety of the church. The current ELT's actions have been reprehensible, and to this day, they still refuse to identify or to investigate what's going on at IHOPKC. Done with this video, and thank you for people that are watching, liking my videos. I always forget to people that like the video. I'm going to be doing more updates. I like to do it in front of the screen so I can read. There's a few things that I'm still waiting on. One of them is, what was the additional information that Eric, the crisis manager, is referring to. The second thing is, what are the response from the advocates? Have they been in communication with IHOP? The third one is, why are they still claiming this is an independent investigation, and why are they only investigating Mike Bickle? All this will come out in the later days, and I'll do another update. So if you haven't subscribed, like the video, and I'm going to work out right now, all right? And thanks for watching. May the Lord bless you, keep you strong in the faith, and remember, Brother John loves you.